Red dust swirled around Dr. Lisa Carter's boots as she wiped the sweat off her face. The burning Australian sun made her metal scanner almost impossible to hold. She'd been searching this empty area for 3 weeks, tracking strange patterns in satellite photos that showed odd shapes buried deep underground. "Found anything yet, Doc?" Jake Morrison shouted from behind her. The big engineer had signed up to help, bringing tools that could dig much deeper than normal equipment. His strong arms were already coated in dust from preparing the drilling machines. Lisa looked at her scanner again, and her eyes widened. The signals grew stronger as they walked toward a small hill about 50 meters away. "These metal readings are crazy," she said, her voice shaking with excitement. "Whatever's buried down there is huge." They'd been following these weird signals for days. Satellite images first spotted something unusual 6 months earlier. But the Australian government only recently said they could dig. Lisa's fame as an expert in strange discoveries had convinced them to pay for the trip. "Maybe it's an old mine," suggested Dr. Alan Brooks, the language professor who joined them to study any ancient writing they might find. He was thin with gray hair and liked books more than outdoor work, but nobody knew dead languages better than him. Lisa shook her head as her scanner numbers climbed. "No mining company ever dug this deep. We're looking at something buried at least 30 meters down. The ground tests show nobody's touched this area." Jake fired up the drilling machine, and its loud noise echoed across the empty land. The special drill could cut through rock and dirt much faster than old methods. As it went down, Lisa watched the numbers on her machine. At 10 meters, the metal signal got even stronger. At 20 meters, her scanner started showing energy readings that made no sense. "Jake, shut it down!" she yelled urgently. The engineer killed the machine and looked worried. "What's wrong?" Lisa stared at her scanner in shock. "I'm picking up active energy down there, electrical power that shouldn't be there." Dr. Brooks walked over to the drill, adjusting his thick glasses as he looked at Lisa's equipment. "That can't be right. No power lines run through here. We're hundreds of miles from the nearest electrical grid." "I know what I'm seeing," Lisa said firmly. She pulled out different equipment made to find man-made structures. What it showed made her heart pound. "There's something built down there, something massive." The team worked the rest of the day, carefully making the hole bigger and using special cameras to look into the darkness below. What they saw made no sense. Smooth metal walls reflected their lights back, showing what looked like hallways and rooms of incredible size. "This isn't natural," Jake whispered as he studied the camera pictures. "Somebody built this." Lisa was already making calls on her satellite phone. "We need more equipment and security. If this is what I think it is, everyone in the world will want to see it." 3 days later, the place buzzed with people. The Australian Army had blocked off the area while scientists from everywhere arrived to help with the dig. Heavy machines carved a path down to the buried structure, showing more and more of its amazing size. Captain Roy Stevens arrived with Army engineers, his tough face showing doubt from a man who'd seen too much to be easily impressed. "So what exactly are we dealing with here, Doctor?" he asked Lisa as they stood at the edge of the hole. Lisa pointed to the exposed part of the structure. Even with just a small piece visible, they clearly were dealing with something never seen before. "Based on our scans, this thing is roughly 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. The metal has elements we barely recognize, and we have no idea how it was built." "Could it be some kind of test aircraft?" Stevens asked. "Maybe something the Americans or Russians made during the Cold War?" "No," Lisa said firmly. "The ground evidence shows this has been buried for hundreds of years, maybe longer. And the technology doesn't match anything humans have ever made." Dr. Brooks had been studying marks they found on the exposed metal. He walked over with a tablet full of photos. "I've been looking at these symbols, and they don't match any known human language or writing. The math ideas in these marks suggest scientific knowledge far beyond what humans had even 50 years ago." As more of the structure appeared, the team began to understand they were dealing with something that would change everything humans thought they knew about the universe. The object was clearly built, clearly advanced, and clearly not made by humans. Jake had been working with engineers to find a way inside. "We found what might be a door," he told Lisa. "The metal here is different, thinner. We think we can cut through without damaging what's inside." Lisa felt both excited and scared as she realized they were about to become the first humans to enter an alien spaceship. "Go slowly," she ordered. "Record everything and remember we have no clue what might be inside." Cutting took hours, with laser tools slowly burning through the alien metal. When the hole was finally big enough, Lisa stepped inside first. Her flashlight showed hallways that stretched beyond sight, with walls covered in the same mysterious symbols Dr. Brooks had been studying. "It's a ship," she whispered into her radio. "A spacecraft unlike anything we've ever imagined." As the team went deeper into the vessel, they found proof of who used to live there. Bones of beings that clearly weren't human lay scattered through the hallways. Equipment and machines filled huge rooms. Everything was designed for creatures taller and thinner than humans. In what seemed to be the ship's control room, they made their biggest find. A crystal device, still glowing faintly with inner light, reacted to them being there. Symbols appeared floating above it, and a voice spoke in a language none of them knew. Dr. Brooks worked quickly to record and study the sounds. "It's trying to talk to us," he said in wonder. "This ship has been waiting here for hundreds of years, and it's still working." 3 months passed since the discovery, and the small dig site had turned into a huge international research center. Director Helen Price arrived from Geneva. With the world's best scientists and unlimited money from the International Space Research Coalition, the Australian government agreed to share the discovery with all humanity, understanding that what sat beneath their ground was too important for one nation to control. Dr. Ryan Murphy stepped out of the helicopter, his physics equipment already being carried by helpers. The young physicist was famous for solving problems other scientists thought impossible. His messy hair and casual clothes made him look more like a student than one of the world's top experts in advanced energy. "So this is where we meet aliens," he said to Kate Williams, the systems engineer who flew in with him. Kate was known for understanding and fixing any machine, no matter how complex or strange. Her steady hands and sharp mind had saved dozens of space missions when important equipment broke. The ship's inside had been mapped and secured over the past months. Emergency lights were installed through the hallways and breathing. Equipment let the team work safely in the alien space. The air inside the ship could be breathed but was thin, suggesting the original owners came from a world with different air than Earth. Lisa Carter met the new arrivals at what everyone now called the main door. Her face showed the tiredness of someone who barely slept in 3 months, but her eyes still showed the excitement of discovery. "Welcome to the most important dig site in human history," she said with a tired smile. Director Price was a woman who commanded respect everywhere. Her silver hair was pulled back tight, and her sharp suit looked strange in the dusty place. "Dr. Carter, I've read your reports, but I need to see this myself." "Show me what we're working with." The group went down into the ship through the carefully cut entrance. Emergency lights made strange shadows on the alien walls, making the symbols seem to move and change. Jake Morrison had spent weeks installing support beams to keep the dugout areas stable. His engineering skills had been key in making the ship safe for humans to explore. "The beings who built this called themselves Zeherians," Dr. Brooks explained as they walked through the main hallway. His translation work had moved quickly once the ship's computer started helping. They were running from something they called the Hegemony. From what I understand, the Hegemony was a group of species that conquered and destroyed other civilizations. They reached the control room where the crystal computer device kept glowing softly. The alien intelligence had been trying to talk with the human team, but the language problem had made progress slow. Dr. Brooks had learned basic ideas, but complex thoughts remained hard to translate. Dr. Murphy walked up to the computer with scientific interest. "Has anyone tried connecting human technology to this?" he asked. "We've been scared to mess with it," Lisa replied. "We don't want to damage the only source of information we have about the ship and its builders." Ryan pulled out a small device from his bag. "This is something I've been developing. It might create a bridge between human and alien technology without causing damage." He looked at Director Price for approval. Helen nodded. "Go ahead, but carefully. We can't lose what we've already learned." Ryan connected his device to the alien computer. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystal started glowing brighter and symbols appeared in the air with much better clarity than before. The computer's voice became clearer and somehow the words started to make sense. "Greetings, young species," the computer said in strange but understandable English. "I am the memory keeper of the Zeherian vessel Wanderer. I have been waiting many of your centuries for minds capable of understanding our gift." The humans stared in amazement. Kate spoke first. "Gift? What gift?" "Our technology, our knowledge, our warning," the computer replied. "The Hegemony destroyed our homeworld and chased us across space. We came to your world because our sensors showed it had a young species with potential. We chose to die here, rather than lead our enemies to you before you were." "Ready." Dr. Brooks stepped forward with his translator. "Ready for what? Ready to fight?" "The Hegemony views all other species as either slaves or obstacles to remove," the computer said simply. "They have been watching your world since your people first sent signals into space. They wait only for you to create technology worth stealing before they come to. Claim your planet." The meaning hit the human team like a punch. Director Price recovered first. "How long do we have?" "By my calculations, your species has perhaps 5 of your years before they arrive in force. They will come with crushing power, expecting to face a primitive civilization with crude weapons. This ship holds technology that could give your people a chance to survive, but only if you can learn to use it right." Ryan looked at the alien systems with growing excitement. "The energy readings here are incredible. This ship's power source makes more energy than our biggest nuclear plants, and it fits in a space smaller than a car engine." Kate was studying the ship's construction with equal interest. "The materials are unlike anything we have on Earth. They're stronger than our best metals, but somehow lighter. And look at these connectors. They're designed to be changed and adapted." The computer seemed pleased by their interest. "Your species shows promise. The Zeherians studied many civilizations during our travels, most focused only on the technology itself. You ask about adaptation and improvement. This suggests the creativity needed to survive the Hegemony." Over the next weeks, the human team made amazing progress. Ryan discovered that human brain patterns were uniquely compatible with Zeherian controls. Unlike other species the computer had met, humans could connect directly with alien technology and understand it naturally. It's as if human minds are designed to adapt and blend foreign ideas, Ryan explained to the team during one of their daily meetings. The Zeherians built their technology to be efficient and precise, but when humans work with it, we automatically start thinking of ways to modify and improve it. Kate had been working with the ship's engineering systems and made an equally important discovery. The Zeherians were careful builders. They designed everything with multiple safety systems and backup plans. But humans think differently. We're willing to take risks they would never consider. Director Price realized what this meant immediately. We're not just going to copy their technology. We're going to make it better. The computer confirmed their hopes. This is why the Zeherians chose your world as our final stop. Your species has the potential to push our technology beyond its original limits. With human creativity and Zeherian knowledge combined, you might do what we could not. Captain Stevens, who'd been running security for the site, asked the question everyone was thinking. Can we build ships like this? Can we make enough to fight the Hegemony? One ship won't be enough, the computer replied. But this vessel can serve as the foundation for something greater. With human innovation and Zeherian technology, you might build something the galaxy has never seen. As reality became clear, the human team realized they were no longer just scientists studying an ancient discovery. They had become humanity's last hope for survival in a dangerous galaxy. The work ahead would be the greatest challenge their species ever faced. But for the first time since the discovery, they began to believe winning might be possible. Pete Johnson wiped grease from his hands as he stood in the massive alien engine room. The chief engineer had been brought in from NASA to lead the most ambitious rebuilding project in human history. His team of engineers and workers labored around the clock, mixing human innovation with Zeherian technology in ways that amazed even the ship's computer. The original designers never meant their engines to handle this much power. Pete explained to Director Price as they walked through the renovated parts of the ship. But human thinking doesn't worry about manufacturer limits. We're pushing these systems to produce 30% more energy than their original specs. The transformation of the alien vessel had been remarkable. Where Zeherian hallways had once been narrow and efficient, human engineers had opened up spaces to fit larger equipment and easier maintenance. The aliens built for precision and safety, but humans rebuilt for power and flexibility. Dr. Murphy stood before a wall of energy lines that hadn't existed in the original ship design. The Zeherians use their power systems like we use electricity in our homes, carefully controlled and sent through fixed paths. We're treating their energy more like a river that can be blocked, redirected, and sent wherever we need it most. Kate Williams had become the expert on mixing human and alien technologies. Her workshop was filled with hybrid devices that combined Earth materials with Zeherian parts. "Look at this," she said, holding up what looked like a simple metal panel. The aliens made their outer armor in fixed sections that could be replaced if damaged. "We've redesigned it to be self-fixing and adaptive." The ship's computer had first been worried about the massive changes, but slowly came to appreciate human creativity. "Your species approaches problems differently than any civilization I have met," the AI observed during one of the daily planning meetings. The Zeherians would spend months testing each change. Humans test by doing and adjusting. Captain Stevens had set up a training center within the ship where potential crew members learned to work with alien technology. The program was unlike any military training in human history. Volunteers learned to connect their minds directly with ship systems, thinking on a scale that covered entire star systems rather than just planetary concerns. Commander Amy Foster led the pilot training program. She had been one of the first humans to successfully work with the ship's navigation systems, and her experience was crucial for training others. "Flying this ship isn't like flying an aircraft," she explained to a group of new recruits. "You don't just control it, you become part of it. The ship responds to your thoughts and intentions as much as your manual inputs." The most important breakthrough came when Dr. Carter's team discovered that the ship's main computer could be networked with Earth's global communication systems. This connection let the collective knowledge and creativity of the entire human race contribute to the ship's evolution. Scientists, engineers, and even amateur inventors from around the world began sending ideas for improvements and changes. "We've basically turned the ship into a group project for all of humanity," Lisa explained to a gathering of world leaders who came to check the progress. "The computer processes suggestions from thousands of sources and uses the best ideas automatically." The ship began to grow and adapt in ways that neither humans nor Zeherians had expected. New weapon systems appeared that mixed human tactical thinking with alien energy technology. The original Zeherian weapons had been designed for precise, efficient destruction. Human changes made them flexible to different situations and capable of much greater firepower. Pete's engineering team had completely rebuilt the ship's defensive systems. The aliens designed their shields like umbrella protection, one barrier covering the entire ship, he explained. "We've created a system of overlapping energy fields that can be focused where needed most. If they want to punch through our defenses, they'll have to get through multiple layers that adapt to their attack methods." Dr. Murphy made another crucial discovery while working on the ship's power distribution systems. "Human brains process information differently than Zeherian minds," he reported to the leadership team. "When we work with their technology, we automatically look for ways to improve efficiency and increase output. The computer has started learning from our thought patterns and applying those improvements throughout the ship." The vessel was becoming something entirely new, neither fully human nor fully Zeherian, but a hybrid that combined the best parts of both civilizations. The original ship had been built for exploration and peaceful contact with other species. The rebuilt version was designed for war, but war fought with intelligence and flexibility rather than just brute force. Kate had been working on one of the most important changes: the ship's ability to make its own equipment and even additional ships. The Zeherians built factory systems that could produce replacement parts, she explained. "We've expanded that ability to create entirely new vessels based on our hybrid designs." The Ship's hallways now hummed with activity as human crews worked. Alongside automated systems, the computer had adapted to human working styles, learning to guess needs and provide help without being asked. It had also begun developing what could only be called personality traits, preferences for certain solutions and approaches that reflected its interactions with human thinking. Commander. Foster's pilot training program had produced a new generation of space warriors who thought differently than any military force in human history. "These aren't just pilots," she reported to Captain Stevens. "They're linked with the ship's systems. Each one can control multiple functions at once while maintaining tactical awareness of the entire battlefield." The most remarkable change was in the ship's core systems. What had begun as a single alien computer had evolved into something that included human creativity and innovation. The ship could now guess problems and develop solutions faster than any human team, but it did so with human-style thinking that emphasized adaptation and improvement. "We're not just fixing an alien ship," Pete observed as he watched his team's work on the latest changes. "We're creating something that's never existed before, a vessel that thinks like humans, but operates with technology beyond our original abilities." Dr. Brooks had been studying the cultural meaning of the rebuilding. The Zeherians were a careful species that valued stability and slow planning. Humans value progress and are willing to take risks for improvement. When you combine those approaches, you get innovation that neither species could achieve alone. As the rebuilding neared completion, the ship had grown from its original 2-kilometer length to nearly 3 kilometers. New sections housed manufacturing centers, training areas, and weapon systems that pushed alien technology far beyond its original limits. The vessel had become humanity's answer to the hegemony threat. Not just a copy of alien technology, but an improvement upon it that reflected the best of human creativity and determination. The computer seemed pleased with the transformation. The Zeherians would be proud to see their final gift used so well, it told the human leadership team. "You have created something worthy of facing the hegemony and perhaps even defeating them." The alarm bells rang throughout the command center as long-range sensors detected something that made everyone's blood run cold. 3 massive shapes had appeared at the edge of the solar system, moving toward Earth with purpose and speed that could only mean one thing. The hegemony had found them 2 years earlier than expected. Captain Roy Stevens stood before the main display screen, watching the alien ships approach with the calm look of a man who had prepared for this moment. "Every day for the past year. How long until they reach Earth?" he asked the sensor operator. 18 hours at their current speed," came the reply. "They're not trying to hide their approach. They want us to see them coming." Director Price arrived in the command center within minutes of the alert. Her face was pale but determined as she studied the sensor readings. 3 ships. Are we ready for this?" The rebuilt vessel, now called the Defiance, sat in Earth orbit like a sleeping giant. 2 years of constant work had transformed the alien ship into something that would have amazed its original builders. Human crews had trained relentlessly to operate the hybrid systems, and every weapon and defensive system had been tested and improved dozens of times. Dr. Murphy had been watching the approaching ships with equipment that mixed human sensors with Zeherian technology. "These aren't exploration vessels," he reported grimly. "The energy signatures suggest they're scout ships, but they're armed with weapons that could level entire cities." Commander Amy Foster gathered her pilot teams in the ship's main briefing room. 200 volunteers had trained for this moment, learning to work with alien technology and think on a galactic scale. Each one knew they might not survive the next 24 hours, but their faces showed determination rather than fear. "This is what we've been preparing for," Amy told her crews. "The Hegemony expects to find primitive humans with stolen technology. They're going to discover something very different." The ship's computer had been studying the approaching vessels since they first appeared on sensors. "These are standard Hegemony scout ships," it informed the command team. "They carry crews of about 50 beings each and are armed with plasma weapons and energy shields. However, their designs are over 2 centuries old. The Hegemony has grown, overconfident from facing species that cannot adapt to their tactics." Pete Johnson made final checks. on all ship systems as the Defiance prepared to leave Earth orbit. Every change and improvement made over the past 2 years would be tested in actual combat. All systems are operating at 110% of design specs. He reported, the ship is ready for whatever they can throw at us. The 3 Hegemony ships took positions around Earth, clearly expecting the planet's defenders to give up without a fight. Their messages came in multiple languages, all carrying the same message: submit to hegemony rule or face complete destruction. Captain Stevens opened a channel to respond. This is Captain Roy Stevens of the Earth vessel Defiance. Your message is received and rejected. Leave this system immediately or face the consequences. The response from the lead Hegemony ship was laughter. Primitive species, you have one crude vessel built from stolen technology. We offer you one final chance to surrender before we show you the price of defying the hegemony. Demonstration declined. Stevens replied calmly. Defiance is departing Earth orbit. Let's see what you can do. The battle began as the Defiance moved away from Earth, toward the nearest hegemony scout ship. The alien vessel immediately opened fire with plasma weapons that could have destroyed any normal human ship. But the Defiance was far from normal. Its adaptive shields absorbed the incoming energy and used it to strengthen the defensive barriers. Shields holding at 95%, reported the tactical officer. Their weapons are powerful but predictable. Amy Foster took control of the ship's flight systems, her mind linking directly with the navigation computers. The Defiance moved in ways that confused the hegemony crews. Human unpredictability combined with Zeherian technology created flight patterns that broke every rule of space combat. The ship dove below the attacking scout vessel and fired its modified weapons at point-blank range. The hegemony shields, designed to stop normal energy weapons, could not adapt to the hybrid human Xeon technology. The scout ship's defensive barriers collapsed and return fire tore through its hull. First enemy vessel is disabled, reported Dr. Murphy from the weapons control station. Their shields weren't designed to handle our energy frequencies. The remaining 2 hegemony ships moved to trap the Defiance between them, a standard tactic that had worked against countless other species. But the human crews had trained for exactly this situation. The ship's computer, now thinking with human creativity and alien processing power, had already calculated 17 different escape routes. Kate Williams coordinated the ship's defensive systems as plasma fire came from 2 directions at once. The overlapping energy fields that Pete's team had designed proved their worth. Instead of trying to block all incoming fire with a single barrier, the Defiance's shields redirected and absorbed energy from multiple angles. They're trying to overwhelm our defenses with coordinated fire, Kate reported. But our shield system is actually getting stronger from absorbing their energy output. The Defiance's response was swift and devastating. Human tactical thinking processed through alien technology identified the weak points in hegemony ship designs. The modified weapon systems fired in patterns that confused enemy sensors and overwhelmed their defensive systems. The second scout ship tried to retreat when its shields began failing, but Commander Foster had guessed the move. The Defiance's engines, pushed beyond their original design limits by human changes, gave the ship speed and maneuverability that shocked the alien crews. Target their engine sections, Captain Stevens ordered. We want that ship intact for study. The Defiance's weapons fired with surgical precision, disabling the scout ship's propulsion systems without destroying the vessel entirely. The third Hegemony ship found itself alone against an enemy that fought unlike anything in their experience. The final enemy vessel tried to use a tactic that had terrified other species. It threatened to destroy Earth itself if the Defiance did not surrender. But the human crews had prepared for this possibility as well. They're powering up planet-killing weapons, Dr. Murphy reported. We have maybe 3 minutes before they can fire. The ship's computer and human tactical teams worked together to solve the problem faster than any single species could have managed. The solution was typically human. Dangerous, unexpected, and brilliant. The Defiance accelerated directly toward the final Hegemony ship, using its adaptive shields as a battering ram. The alien crew had no time to react before the human vessel smashed through their hull, its reinforced armor sections designed specifically for ramming attacks. When the battle ended, 2 Hegemony scout ships were destroyed, and the third was captured intact. The Defiance had suffered damage, but remained fully operational. More importantly, Earth's defenders had proven that human creativity combined with alien technology could defeat enemies that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. Analysis of the captured vessel will provide intelligence on hegemony technology and tactics, the ship's computer reported. But more importantly, this victory will be reported throughout their territory. The galaxy will know that Earth is no longer defenseless. Captain Stevens looked at his exhausted but victorious crew. They had passed their first test against the Hegemony. But everyone knew this was only the beginning. The main enemy fleet would arrive soon, and they would be prepared for human tactics. "Get me a damage report and begin repairs," Stevens ordered. "We have 6 months to get ready for the real fight." The massive Hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a swarm of deadly metal insects, 50 warships strong and carrying enough firepower to turn planets into asteroid fields. Admiral Jack Cooper stood on the bridge of the Defiance watching the enemy formation with the steady gaze of a man who had spent 6 months preparing for this moment. "Enemy count confirmed at 50 vessels," reported the sensor operator. "Multiple ship classes, including battle cruisers and dreadnoughts. They're moving into attack formation." The captured scout ship had given humanity crucial intelligence about hegemony technology and tactics, but more importantly, it had given them time to prepare defenses that would shock their enemies. Earth's orbital space was no longer defended by a single rebuilt alien vessel. 3 sister ships now accompanied the Defiance, each one including lessons learned from the Scout battle. Dr. Murphy coordinated the fleet, weapon systems from his position on the Defiance. The past 6 months had been spent perfecting the hybrid, technology that combined human creativity with Zeherian engineering. "All ships report weapons charged and ready," he announced. "Our energy output is reading 30% higher than design specs." The Hegemony fleet commander broadcast the standard surrender demand, his voice carrying the arrogance of a species that had never faced serious resistance. "Primitive humans, you have destroyed our scouts and must face punishment. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift. Continue to resist and we will make your world suffer for generations." Admiral Cooper opened a response channel. "This is Admiral Jack Cooper of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your scouts learned the price of underestimating humanity. Your main fleet is about to learn the same lesson." The Hegemony commander laughed. 4 ships against 50. Your species truly is as foolish as our reports indicated." "Then come and collect your prize," Cooper replied calmly. The battle began with the Hegemony fleet advancing in a formation that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Massive dreadnoughts led the assault while smaller ships provided covering fire. It was a tactic designed to overwhelm enemy defenses through sheer firepower and coordinated attack patterns. But the human fleet did not respond as expected. Instead of forming a defensive line, the 4 Earth ships scattered in different directions, their movements appearing chaotic and uncoordinated. The Hegemony commanders smiled, thinking the primitive humans had panicked under pressure. They were wrong. Commander Amy Foster piloted the Defiance through a series of maneuvers that would have been impossible for any normal spacecraft. The ship dove between 2 Hegemony dreadnoughts, its adaptive shields absorbing their fire and converting the energy into additional power for weapons and engines. "Their targeting systems can't track our movement patterns," Amy reported as she threw the ship into another impossible turn. "Human flight tactics are too unpredictable for their computers to calculate." The other 3 human ships were doing equally chaotic but effective attack runs. Captain Stevens, now commanding the vessel called Retribution, used his ship's ramming abilities to smash through the hull of a Hegemony cruiser. The alien crew had never met an enemy willing to use their own ship as a weapon. Kate Williams coordinated the fleet's defensive systems from the ship named Defiant. Her changes to the shield technology had created something the Hegemony had never seen: defensive barriers that grew stronger under fire and could be shared between ships. When enemy weapons targeted one human vessel, all 4 ships contributed energy to strengthen its shields. "They're trying to concentrate. Fire on individual targets," Kate reported. "But our linked defensive network is spreading the damage across the entire fleet." The Hegemony fleet began to realize they were facing something unprecedented. Their standard tactics were failing against enemies who fought with no regard for normal military rules. Human ships rammed enemy vessels, used suicide attacks to disable larger ships, and used weapon combinations that broke every rule of space combat. Dr. Murphy used his most dangerous experiment as the battle reached its peak. "Activating consciousness network," he announced. "All ships linking into shared tactical awareness." The 4 human ships suddenly began moving with perfect coordination while maintaining their individual unpredictability. Each vessel knew instantly what the others were planning, allowing them to do complex maneuvers that confused and overwhelmed the Hegemony forces. Pete Johnson watched the fleet engineering systems as human. Ships pushed alien technology far beyond its design limits, all vessels operating at maximum output, he reported. Engine changes are holding steady, despite the stress. The ship's computer, now spread across all 4 human vessels, processed battle information faster than any single species could manage. But it did so with human creativity and willingness to take risks that amazed even the consciousness that had been built by the cautious Zeherians. "Hegemony forces are trying to retreat," the computer reported. "Their commanders cannot understand how 4 ships are defeating 50. Admiral Cooper would not allow the enemy to escape and regroup. All ships pursue and destroy. No Hegemony vessel leaves this system." The final phase of the battle became a running fight as human ships chased down fleeing enemies. The Hegemony had expected to face a primitive species with crude weapons. Instead, they met something that fought with intelligence, creativity, and technology that surpassed their own. When the last enemy ship was destroyed, Earth's defenders had achieved something the galaxy thought impossible. A primitive species had not only survived a Hegemony assault, but had completely destroyed the attacking fleet. "Damage report," Cooper requested as the fleet regrouped near Earth. "All ships operational," came the responses from the other vessels. "Minor damage to hull sections and some weapon systems offline, but nothing that affects combat ability." The ADA victory sent shock waves throughout the galaxy. News of humanity's triumph spread through communication networks that connected thousands of worlds. Species that had lived in fear of the Hegemony for centuries suddenly had hope that their oppressors could be defeated. But humanity was not content to simply defend Earth. Dr. Carter, now serving as the Fleet Intelligence Coordinator, had been studying captured Hegemony databases. "We've identified the locations of dozens of slave worlds and prisoner colonies," she reported to the fleet commanders. "There are entire species that have been enslaved for generations." Admiral Cooper made a decision that would reshape the galaxy. "We're not going to wait for the Hegemony to attack us again. We're taking the fight to them." The human fleet began expanding using captured enemy technology and freed alien manufacturing centers. Within months, Earth ships were appearing throughout Hegemony space, freeing slave worlds and setting up new free governments. Captain Stevens led the liberation of the former Zeherian homeworld, where survivors of the original species still lived in underground colonies. When human ships arrived offering freedom and alliance, the Zeherians wept at seeing their technology being used to free the galaxy rather than destroy it. Dr. Brooks set up the Galactic Liberation Coalition, an alliance of species working together to overthrow Hegemony rule. Human technology and tactics were shared freely with any species willing to fight for their freedom. Commander Foster trained pilots from dozens of different worlds, teaching them to fly with human creativity and alien technology. The combination proved irresistible to species that had been forced to fight with inferior equipment for centuries. Pete Johnson's engineering teams worked with alien scientists to create new classes of warships that included the best ideas from multiple civilizations. The ships that appeared were more powerful and flexible than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Within 5 years, the Hegemony had been completely destroyed. Their former territory was divided among free species that governed themselves according to principles of cooperation rather than conquest. The galaxy entered an age of unprecedented peace and prosperity. Dr. Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the Defiance as it approached the former Hegemony capital world. In her hands, she held the small Zeherian artifact that had started their journey, a message of hope from a dying species that had believed in humanity's potential. "The Zeherians would be proud," she said to Admiral Cooper as they watched former slave species celebrating their freedom on the planet below. They gave us the tools, Cooper replied, but we chose what to build with them. The revenge was complete, but more importantly, the galaxy was free.